Rain fell heavily as Emma crouched by the damaged truck, her attire drenched, hands firm. She repaired his brakes without knowing his name, only wished for his safe return home. Weeks later, she heard a roar outside her modest village shop and paused. A line of trucks extended along the road, headlights shining, engines spurring like a chant. What followed left her speechless, a memory she would always cherish. Press like and share where you're watching from. Your encouragement fuels more heartfelt tales. Let's dive in. The rain had been constant for hours. No lightning, just an endless sheet of water hitting the metal roof of a roadside shop that had seen better years. Inside, the aroma of fuel, stale coffee, and wet cement clung like a familiar coat. Emma cleaned her hands on a worn cloth, the oil barely shifting, and rested against the counter that divided the shop from the small cafe attached. The place was hers. She had rebuilt it piece by piece after her dad passed. Just her, a wrench set, and more grit than cash. She was 28, tall, sturdy, with weather-worn hands and weary eyes, dressed in a dark t-shirt and olive cargo pants, her hair tied back. She seemed like someone accustomed to long hours and deeper silences. A cup of black coffee steamed by her arm, half drunk. On the table nearby sat a battered laptop glowing, with open bills, part lists, and a low battery alert in the corner. The lights dimmed again. She hardly reacted. Just another wet day in a place too small for steady power and too proud to mind. Outside, the deep hum of a diesel motor broke the rain's rhythm. Emma glanced up. A huge semi-truck eased into the lot, its warning lights flashing like a plea. Their brakes wheezed unevenly, and a faint horn gave a weak, drawn-out beep before fading. Steam rose from the tires. She was already slipping on her raincoat by the time the driver stepped out. He moved carefully, a man in his late 50s, perhaps older, with gentle eyes under a soaked kepi and a slight limp in his left leg. His coat was too light for this storm. He offered a tired nod as water dripped down his face. "Brakes started seizing 10 miles back," he said softly. "2 places turned me away. One tried, made it worse." Emma didn't flinch. "You're here now. Let's take a look." She crouched by the front axle, the rain soaking her clothes instantly. The sharp scent of overheated brake pads cut through the storm. She touched the modulator valve. Cold, unresponsive. Something was off upstream. She looked back at him. "Stay dry. This'll take a bit." She didn't know his name, and in that moment it didn't matter. Emma worked with the quiet skill born of practice, not formal lessons. Her fingers followed the wet, dirty lines beneath the cab, her breath visible in the chilly air. The rain blurred all but her focus. She moved quickly, not hurrying, just precise, careful. The problem showed itself like an old scar. "Water in the airlines," she muttered quietly. "And this valve's done, not linking to the ECM." The driver, standing under the canopy, leaned in. "That serious? ABS modulators failed?" she said, wiping her hand on her leg. "Computer thinks the brakes are locking, so it keeps pulsing, making them worse. You're lucky you didn't spin out back there." His shoulders sagged as the reality sank in. "Been driving 30 years. Never felt anything this erratic. Can it be fixed?" Emma gave a small nod. "Not the proper way. I don't have a spare valve, but I can bypass the ABS and run it manual. It'll get you home if you drive with care." The man gave a short, warm laugh. "Always do." She slid under the truck, lying flat on the wet gravel. Water seeped into her clothes, but she didn't pause. She removed the faulty valve, dried the connector with a shop rag, and fitted a manual override plug from her emergency kit, a trick most shops no longer tried. Then she connected an inline air dryer and started the compressor. Water hissed from the lines in sharp bursts. The job took 40 minutes. With time she stood, her jacket clung to her arms, her boots squished. The rain hadn't slowed. If anything, it felt colder. She gestured to the cab. "Start it, test the brakes." He climbed in. The engine roared to life. When he pressed the brakes, no wheeze, no shake, just smooth pressure. He looked at her from the open window. "You sure this'll hold long term?" "No," she said simply, "but I'm sure it'll get you home." The man turned off the engine, stepped out, and reached for his wallet. "Let me pay you something. You stayed in that rain for nearly an hour." Emma shook her head, pulling her hood tighter. "You've had a tough day. Get home safe." "That's enough." He looked at her for a moment, eyes filled with something warmer than thanks. Then he nodded. "All right," he said gently. "Thank you." Emma gave a faint smile. "Drive carefully." He drove off without another word. She never asked his name, never needed to. The rain eased just before midnight. Emma stayed in the shop long after the truck left, peeling off her drenched jacket and hanging it on a hook behind the counter. Her shirt was cold against her skin, but she barely cared. She poured the last of the coffee into her mug, tepid, sharp, and sipped while staring at the blank laptop screen. She was used to such nights, used to the solitude, the quiet that settled deep in her soul since her dad passed, and the townsfolks rarely brought their trucks by. She never promoted, never sought business. If people came, she helped. If not, she worked on her own tasks or fixed what needed mending. She woke early the next morning, changed the oil on a farmer's ATV, replaced a worn head gasket on an old Ford, and restocked the cafe with fresh coffee and dry bread. No one spoke of the truck. No one asked about the man. By week's end, his memory had faded into the rest. Another stranger aided, another face forgotten. Her work was like that. Brief moments, silent repairs, no praise, just the warmth of knowing something broken was made whole. 2 weeks passed. The skies cleared. Sunlight warmed the gravel lot again. Emma fixed the power after replacing a faulty junction. A neighbor stopped by with a jammed pressure washer. She replaced these seals and got it running in under 10 minutes. He offered cash. She waved it off. The routine never shifted until it did. On a clear Thursday morning, Emma stood outside the shop holding a fresh coffee, watching mist lift from the road. The calm was soothing. Then a low rumble began. She paused, head tilted, listening. It wasn't thunder, not a single motor. It was layered, deep, rhythmic, a vibration in the earth itself. She stepped into Thalot, shielding her eyes from the rising sun. What she saw stopped her cold. 15, maybe more semi-trucks moved in slow formation down the highway, easing to asynchronized stop before her shop. Their headlights stayed on, bright and steady. One bore a large American flag waving from a mounted pole. No horns, no noise, just presence. Emma's fingers tightened around the coffee mug. She blinked twice, trying to comprehend. Not one of those trucks was the one she'd fixed. Yet somehow she knew what this was. Emma stood frozen, the morning breeze brushing her damp hair as the last echoes of the engines faded into a heavy, sacred silence. The line of trucks stretched far beyond her lot, blocking both directions of the road like a steel parade. Chrome grills gleamed in the sunrise, windows reflecting golden light. No one moved. Noon spoke. Then the driver in the lead truck stepped down. He was tall, mid-40s, with graying stubble and deep lines carved from years on the road. He wore a denim jacket and a solemn look, one that carried the weight of more than just miles. In his hand, a single white rose. Behind him, one by one, the other drivers left their cabs. Men and women, young, old, weathered, clean-cut, all holding a single white rose. Emma didn't know what to say. Her breath caught as they approached in silence, boots crunching softly on gravel and wet earth. The lead driver stopped before her, removed his cap, and offered a small, folded envelope. No words yet, just that envelope. With steady hands, Emma took it. Her fingers paused on the crease before she opened it. The handwriting was rough but careful. "Emma, you helped Henry. What you didn't know was he was a quiet hero among truckers. He guided half of us. When the war took his hearing in one ear, he kept driving. Taught us how to navigate mountain passes, snowstorms, spin-outs. You fixed more than his brakes. You gave him hope again. He passed away peacefully last week, but not before sharing about the woman who didn't ask for money, just respect. This convoy is his thank you." Eries welled, and she lowered the letter slowly. The lead driver gave a quiet nod and stepped back. One by one, the truckers approached, placing a single white rose on the edge of her workbench or resting it on the porch rail. Some offered a slight bow. Others gently touched her shoulder before walking away. No one rushed. No one explained further. It wasn't a ceremony, it was a tribute. Emma stood still through it all, her dark t-shirt damp again, this time from emotion, not rain. She clutched the letter as if it were delicate. Her breath trembled, but her eyes stayed steady. The last trucker, a woman with short blonde hair and oil-stained coveralls, was the only one who spoke. "He said you never asked his name," she said softly. That meant more to him than anything. Then she placed her rose and joined the line as they returned to their trucks. Engines roared back to life, but no one hurried. Each truck honked once, low, respectful, like a farewell whispered down the highway. The sound rolled over Emma's lot like thunder on a clear morning. One by one they pulled away. The lead rig turned first, wheels groaning gently as it eased onto the open road. The rest followed in silent rhythm, each reg leaving its mark in the wet gravel. Emma stood motionless, the envelope still clutched in her hand, watching the last of the convoy fade into the morning haze. A soft breeze carried the scent of diesel and fresh roses. She turned slowly and noticed it. Just beside her red toolbox, resting atop a folded shop rag, was a final white rose. Next to it, a chalk message scrawled on the side of a trailer now driving away. "Thank you, Emma." She blinked back the sting in her eyes and gently placed the letter beside the rose. Her fingers trembled slightly as she touched a petal. Rain had fallen on this town for days, but now, under the soft gold of a rising sun, everything felt renewed. There were no cameras, no applause, just one mechanic who did what she always did, fix what was broken. Only now she realized something. She had mended more than a truck that day. She'd restored faith, reminded a group of road-weary souls that kindness still existed, even after a tough day. Inside the cafe, the clock ticked softly. The open invoice page on her laptop had gone dark. Emma stepped inside, brushing dirt from her pants, her heart full but quiet. She placed the rose in an old glass jar and set it on the counter by the coffee machine. The letter went in the drawer above her wrench set. Safe close. Shepherd a fresh cup of coffee and sat without a word. But she smiled, because in a world where people rarely noticed, someone had seen her. Not just someone, a convoy, a moving tribute carried by those who knew the man she helped. And in honoring him, they honored her too, not with money, not with praise, but with something deeper, rarer, respect.